Good morning, everyone. In the last session, we learnt about what is a Spring framework, what are the modules available in the Spring framework, okay, when the Spring came into market, and what is the current version of the Spring framework. All right. Next one. Spring framework released in 2004. Actually, the Spring record released in the 2003, but for the public, it released in the 2004. That is first production release of the Spring. The current version of the Spring framework is 5.x version. It got released in 2017. Reactive programming support added in the Spring framework 5.x version. Spring Boot 1.x released in 2014. The current version of the Spring Boot is 3.x version. Spring Boot is an extension for Spring framework. Spring Boot is internally using Spring framework only. That means all the concepts of the Spring framework we are going to use in the Spring Boot also. Right. Spring framework having lot of advantages. So we have seen what are the advantages of the Spring. Spring is a free and open source framework. Spring is very lightweight framework. Spring is versatile framework. Versatile means that can be integrated with any other framework available in the market, and Spring is non-invasive. That means Spring framework will not force you to use any framework related classes or interfaces. Right now, Spring is working based on POJO and POJI model programming. POJO stands for plain old Java object. POJI stands for plain old Java interface. Now, Spring is not a single framework. It is a collection of modules. That means Spring framework is developed in modular fashion. So there are several modules available in the Spring. First one is core module. The core module is called base module of the Spring. The core module is called as base module of the Spring. Without core module, you can't use any other module in the Spring, or you can't learn any other module. Okay, now Spring core module is called as fundamental module. Spring core module is called as fundamental module. Okay, right. Spring core module is providing basically basically the IOC container and dependency injection. Spring core is providing IOC container and dependency injection, which are fundamental concepts of the Spring. Spring context module is there. Spring context module will provide the support for annotations and configurations. So some annotations are available in the Spring. Those annotations we are going to use by using this context module. Spring DAO or JDBC, which are used to communicate with the database. AOP, aspect oriented programming, which is used to separate the business logic and cross-cutting logics. ORM, object relational mapping, to develop the persistent layer with ORM benefits. We are going to use the Spring ORM. To develop the web applications using Spring framework, we will use WebMVC. And to secure our applications, we are using Spring Security. To develop the RESTful services or REST APIs, we will use Spring REST. To simplify the persistence layer development for cloud operations, Spring Data. And for cloud related concepts, Spring Cloud available. For bulk operations, Spring Batch processing is also available. These all are the modules available in the Spring. To learn all these modules, first we need to know what is a core module and how to work with the core module. That is the base module. All the other modules in the Spring are developed on top of this Spring core only. Right. Now here, the another important thing is Spring is not forcing to learn all the modules, or Spring is not forcing you to use all the modules. Whichever the module is required for your project, you can learn only that module, or you can use only that module in your project. Now, fine. So here we discussed about each and every module and advantages of those modules. So now we need to understand we need to start our course, or we need to start our journey with the Spring core module only. Spring core module is the base module in the Spring framework. Spring Core module. Spring Core is the base module in the Spring. Spring Core is base module in Spring framework. All the modules of the Spring, all the other modules of Spring are developed on top of Spring Core only. Spring Core only. Spring Core is all about IOC container and dependency injection. Spring Core providing fundamental concepts of the Spring framework. Fundamental concepts of Spring framework. What are those fundamental concepts of the Spring? IOC container and dependency injection. Without knowing these concepts, you cannot say that you know Spring. So if you want to develop a project by using Spring, you need to know IOC container and dependency injection. Now, Spring Core is all about managing dependencies among the classes. Spring Core is all about managing dependencies among the classes. Now, in our application, we are going to develop several classes. One class wants to talk to another class. Now, how one class can talk to another class? What is a tightly coupling? What is loosely coupling? How can we communicate from one Java class to another Java class? That is, we are going to learn as part of this Spring Core module. Could you please read these points now? Are you guys able to understand these concepts? Spring Boot version 2.7 is the stable. 3.x also came, man. If you go to start.spring.io, can you see 3.0 also came? 2.7 is the stable. 3.0 also came. Okay, they are still snapshots. Snapshots means under development, not for production. For production, 2.7 is available. Okay, good. Spring Core is the base module in the Spring framework. All the other modules of the Spring are developed on top of Spring Core only. Spring Core providing fundamental concepts of the Spring framework. IOC container dependency injections are the very important topics in the Spring. Spring Core is all about managing dependencies among the classes. Now, so let's try to understand this concept by taking one example. So instead of theory, let's try to do this practically. Guys, now I'm going to take one class called engine class. In the engine class, I'm taking a method called start method. That method is having integer as a return type. So this is my class. Engine. Inside the engine class, I'm taking one method called start method. That start method is returning a integer value. Very good. Now I am having another class called car class. Inside the car class, I'm writing one method called void drive method. Now, it's a general common sense. If you want to drive the car, then we need to start the engine. It's a common sense. Every one of us knows that engine will be there for a car. If we want to drive the car, then we need to start the engine. Now here I'm taking car as one class and engine as one class. So there are two classes available. These two classes are having two methods also. Car class is having a drive method. Engine class is having a start method. Now if I want to drive the car and I need to start the engine, car and engine are two different classes. Now drive method should call the start method. If engine started successfully, then only we can drive that car. So I'm taking very general example. Drive method should call the start method. Drive method is available in car class and start method is available in engine class. Now guys, so can you tell me how many ways drive method can talk to start method? How many ways car class can talk to engine class? My main intention is how to access one Java class method in another Java class method. That is the topic for today. If you understand this topic, then easily you can understand the purpose of the Spring Core module. Easily you can understand the purpose of the Spring Core module. Okay, so I'm taking car class. Car class is having a drive method, and I'm taking a engine class. Engine class is having a start method. Now, let me do this practically, guys. So I'm going to create a workspace for 19 SBMS. All the class nodes will be available for 19 SBMS here, and the workspace will be available here. I am using Spring Toolsuite IDE, Spring Toolsuite IDE 3.9 version. Same IDE file I have sent you in the Telegram also. You can download. Browse, go to the workspace, 19 SBMS, our batch code, selecting the workspace, launch. Now my IDE is opening from this folder. In this IDE, now I will create a simple Java project. In the Java project, I will create a car class with a drive method. I will create an engine class with a start method. Now car class drive method should call engine class start method. One Java class want to communicate with another Java class. So tomorrow in the project also same thing. A project nothing but collection of Java classes. A set of programs is called as one project. In the project, when we develop several classes, one class is going to talk to another class, that class is going to talk to some other class, that class is going to talk to some other class. There should be some communication between our classes, then only our project is going to execute. Then only our project is going to execute. In the previous session, we have seen layered architecture. How a project is going to execute, we have seen that layered architecture. So project will have multiple layers. Web layer will be available, business layer will be available, and persistence layer also will be available. Now you see here, web layer will be available, web layer is available, business layer, persistence layer. Web layer will contain some controller classes here, business layer contains service classes here, persistence layer will contain the DAO classes here. Controller class should talk to service class should talk to DAO class. Now the question is, how one Java class is going to talk to another Java class, and why one Java class should talk to another Java class? That is the concept. Okay, so today here I'm taking very simple classes for understanding the concept easily. I'm taking a car class and I'm taking a engine class. Engine class having a start method, car class having a drive method. If I want to drive the car, then I need to start my engine. That means car class should talk to engine class. So tomorrow in the project, what will happen? Controllers should talk to service classes should talk to DAO classes. How that communication will happen among the classes in the project, that we are going to understand. Okay, now my workspace is opened, guys. My project workspace is opened. Go to file, new Java project. I'm not using any Maven here, a simple Java project I'm going to create. So here I'm going to create 0101 car engine application. Car engine application Java 1.8 version I'm using. Next, finish. A simple normal Java project got created. A simple normal Java project got created. SRC source folder, new package. Let us create a package here. I'm creating package in.AhokIT in.AhokIT. That's it. In that package, let me create first one class that is called as engine. Inside the engine class, I'm going to create one method called public int start method. Guys, while developing the programs, while developing the programs, I am going to use some shortcuts. Now see, my font size is automatically decreasing, my font size is increasing. That means I'm using a shortcut. For example, if my code is like this, it is not looking good. I will do the formatting of that code by using a shortcut. Now, so if you don't know these shortcuts, I have prepared one video also on the Eclipse shortcuts. I have prepared a video on Eclipse shortcuts. If you go to our YouTube, you can type Eclipse shortcut keys AhokIT. Now you will get is top 20 Eclipse shortcut keys I have explained in this video. These shortcut keys will help you a lot while developing the code. I have given that link also in the Telegram. Today when you are free, you can go through that video and you can understand how to use those shortcuts. Right. So if you know the shortcuts, then your productivity will be improved. Got it. Now public int start method. Here some logic will be available to start the engine. System.out.println. System.out.println. I'm writing some dummy message here. SOP statement. Engine started. Engine started. Then I'm returning some dummy value, a positive number. That means engine is started successfully. A positive number, that means engine started successfully. If there is some problem in the engine, then we will return a negative number. That means engine is failed to start. It's a very simple class, a simple method I'm taking. Public class engine, in that I'm taking public int start method. Some logic will be available to start the engine. Then I am returning a integer, that means successfully engine got started. Now I'm going to create another class, new class with a name called car class. Inside this car class, I'm writing a method, public void drive method. Public void drive method. Now, if I want to drive this, I need to start my engine first. If I want to drive this, I need to start my engine first. Can you tell me how many ways car class can call engine class start method? Can you tell me in how many ways car class can call engine class drive method, engine class start method? In how many ways it can do that? In how many ways it can do that? Can you tell me? Can you tell me how many ways car class drive method can talk to engine class start method? Come on, guys. People are not responding. People are not responding. How many ways car class drive method can talk to engine class start method? In two ways. In two ways. In two ways. In two ways, car class can call engine class method. Engine class method. First one is inheritance. Second one is composition. First one is what? Inheritance, and the second one is composition. In two ways, car class can call engine class method. Those are inheritance and composition. Now see here, car class will extend the properties from engine. Then we can call super dot, start. Subclass can call superclass methods directly. Subclass methods can call superclass methods directly. Now here, if status greater than or equal to 1, then I will say system.out.println, my journey is started. My journey is started. Else engine having some problem. Engine having some problem. Engine having some problem. So like this, I'm writing the logic inside this drive method. I'm not doing anything, guys. I'm not doing anything business logic here. I'm just calling one Java class method in another Java class method. Okay. So engine class is having a start method. Car class is having a drive method. Car class drive method want to talk to engine class start method. If engine started successfully, then only my drive method can execute. If engine started successfully, then only drive method can execute successfully. Now, car class is extending the properties from the engine. This is one of the approach to call one class method in the another class. Okay. Now, car and engine both are ready. Let me go for my app class or a test class or whatever it is. Let me go for a test class. Now, in order to execute this, I need a main method. Create the object car is equal to new car, then car dot drive. Car is equal to new car and car dot drive. Now run this program, right click, run as Java application. Now can you see engine started and journey started? Are we able to execute our application? Are we able to execute our application now? Come on, guys. Are we able to execute our application? Yes or no? Am I able to access one class method in the another class in my project? Yes, we are able to access one Java class method in another Java class method. So tell me how I am accessing one Java class method in another Java class. Car class is accessing engine class method. How car class is accessing engine class method? There are two different classes, right? How they are accessing? By using inheritance. What is inheritance? What is inheritance? Reusability. If we want to reuse the functionality of one class in the another class, then we will go for inheritance. But there is a problem. When we go for this approach, our car class is tightly coupled with engine. Now, tomorrow, if there is any change happened for the engine, or if tomorrow a new engine came into market, like a petrol engine, diesel engine, electric engine, like that several engines came into market, but my car will always talk to only one engine. Can I extend the properties from another Java class in the car? Car is already extending from the engine. Can I extend the properties from another Java class in future? Can car extends the properties from another Java class in the future? Car cannot extend the properties from another Java class in the future. Car cannot extend the properties from another Java class in the future. Car cannot extend the properties from another Java class in the future because Java does not support for multiple inheritance. Java does not support for multiple inheritance. Now, if we go with this approach, we are closing the gate for the inheritance for our class. We are making our classes are tightly coupled. We are making our classes as tightly coupled. So here I'm taking my engine class. Here I'm taking my engine class. My engine class is getting tightly coupled with the car class. Car class is getting tightly coupled with the engine. In future, if any other class I want to extend from the car, that is not possible because Java does not support for multiple inheritance concept, guys. Java does not support for multiple inheritance concept. Now, tell me, is this the recommended way to communicate from one class to another class? Is this the recommended way to communicate from one class to another class in our project? If one class wants to talk to another class, then can I go for this inheritance? So now let me tell you. Tomorrow, I am going to create one class called user service. In the user service, there is a method called register user. I will write this. I'm going to develop a user registration functionality. User registration functionality logic is available in this user service class, register user. And here there is a another method called user DAO, save user. User DAO class available, which is going to save the user data. Now I want to talk to DAO. DAO is going to communicate with the database. And there is a another class available, which is called as password utils, which is used to encrypt password. I want to encrypt the password before going to store into database. I want to encrypt the password before storing into database. And I want to send a email to the user before, after user record is inserted, I want to send a email to the user. Now, so user registration is just one functionality, but it has to talk to several classes in the background. That is the backend implementation. Now, here I have implemented my project like this: user registration, user service is available, user service is available. Here user controller is available. Here I'm having user controller. In the user controller, save user method is available in the controller. Whenever user register from the UI, the request is going to come to the web layer. The request is going to come to the web layer. Now user controller want to talk to user service. User service wants to talk to DAO. DAO will talk to database. Here I have my database. This is how we are going to develop the applications in the real time. This is how we are going to build the applications in the real time. My DAO should communicate with the database. My controller will communicate with the service. My service should communicate with the DAO, and my service should communicate with the password utils. My service should communicate with the email utils also. Now, one Java class is communicating with multiple Java classes based on the requirement. Guys, now, is this a common requirement or it is very special requirement in the projects taking these classes? Is it a common requirement or it is a special requirement in the project? It is very common requirement in the project. We are going to develop our applications. We are going to develop this application by using layered architecture. We are going to develop this application by using layered architecture. Okay, so whenever you see here, let's take a best example, our AhokIT website only. You want to create a account. You want to create a account in the AhokIT. There is a register option. When you click on the register option, by entering the form data, when you click on the register option, it is going to send the request to the controller. Controller will capture that form data and will talk to service. Then service is going to talk to password utils to encrypt your password. Your password will be encrypted before storing into database. Then your record will be inserted into database table. Then you will receive an email from the website saying that your account is created successfully. So this is a project. A project means several classes will be available. A project means several classes will be available. Now, user controller class wants to talk to user service class. User service is talking to DAO, password utils, and email utils. Now, tell me, Can I extend the properties from user DAO in the user service? Can I extend the properties from email utils in the user service? Password utils, can I extend the properties? Can I extend the properties from 3 classes in the single Java class? Is it possible? Is it possible or it is not possible? Why it is not possible? Why it is not possible? Java does not support for multiple inheritance. Java does not support for multiple inheritance, guys. It is not going to support for multiple inheritance. So now tell me, is it recommended to develop the classes like this? Is this the recommended approach to develop a class? Why it is not recommended? My car class is tightly coupled with the engine. Tomorrow, if any other class is there, I can't extend the properties from other class in the car. You think about this scenario. Now, user service class will talk to multiple classes to perform the user registration. Password utils, which is used to encrypt the password before storing in the database. Guys, will any application store the password directly in the database without encryption? Password encryption will be there or password encryption will not be there. Will any application store the user password into the database directly without encryption? No, definitely we have to encrypt that password to store into database. Password encryption. Once the registration completed, application will send a email for you. Application will send a email for you regarding your registration. For that, we are writing email utils. Then data will be stored into database by using DAO. So user service class wants to talk to 3 classes in the project. Now we can't extend the properties from more than one class in the Java because the Java does not support for multiple inheritance. Java does not support for multiple inheritance. Okay, so this is not the recommended way to develop our classes. Is this a recommended way to develop our classes? It is not the recommended way to develop our classes. Now, instead of this inheritance, can we go for composition? Instead of the inheritance, can we go for composition? Yes or no? Yes, we can go for composition. Let's write now. Don't change this, guys. Keep it. I'm going to copy paste this project. Let me change the project name to 02 app. 02 app. Now go to this project. Go to this project. Car class is available. Second project, engine class is available. Test class is available. Now what I will do is, instead of extending the properties, I am going to create the object. Engine eng is equal to new engine. Then eng dot start. Now, sir, see, my method is there. My method return type is coming automatically. You no need to type the return type of the method. See here, generally what people will do, they will take engine object is created, then they will write engine dot start. Array, it should be stored into a variable integer status. You need to type it, but here not required. There is a shortcut to get the return type of the method directly. Keep your cursor at the end of the method, press Ctrl+1 enter. You will get the method return type also. Are you guys able to understand what is the shortcut to get the method return type? Can you tell me what is the shortcut to get the method return type? All of you. What is the shortcut to get the method return type? Ctrl+1 enter. You keep your cursor at the end, press Ctrl+1 enter. You will get the method return type also. See this once again. I'm at the start method. I'm calling this method start method of engine, which will give some return type. I want to store that return type. I want to store that value into a variable. Whatever the method is returning, I want to store that into value. Ctrl+1 enter. I got it. Then I'm changing that variable name to status. That's it. So that shortcuts also I have explained in this video, guys. You can, once you go through this video, you will understand all such kind of shortcuts. Okay, good, fine. Here I am trying to call engine class start method in the car class drive method. I'm calling engine class start method in the car class drive method through composition. Okay, now let's try to execute it. Let's try to execute it. Now go to test class. Test class, I'm creating a object for a car and I'm calling car.drive. Now run this example, control F11. F11 is the shortcut to run a Java program. Now, am I able to run the program? Am I able to run the program? Yes. So now, how my car class is talking to engine class? Can you tell me? How my car class is talking to engine class now? Through composition. Through composition means what? What is the meaning of composition? What is the meaning of composition, guys? Object creation, and we are calling the methods. Is this recommended approach or it is not the recommended approach? Is this the recommended approach or it is not the recommended approach? Is this recommended approach or it is not the recommended approach? Not recommended approach. Why it is not recommended? We are directly creating the object for the engine. We are directly creating the object for the engine. Tomorrow, I want to change my engine to electric engine. Do I need to modify the code? Do I need to modify the code? Tomorrow I want to use electric engine for my car. I want to change the engine of my car. If I want to change the engine, then my car class should be modified. And I am creating the object directly by using new operator. I should know the instantiation process of the engine. Tomorrow, if engine class object creation process got changed, that means they might have used some constructor. They might have used some constructor and they might have taken some parameter for the constructor. See, when I make some change in the engine, then car class is not getting compiled. When I make some change to engine class constructor, my car class compilation is failing. That means car class and engine classes are tightly coupled. Car and engine classes are loosely coupled. Car and engine are tightly coupled. Car and engine are loosely coupled. Can you tell me? Car and engine are tightly coupled. Car and engine are loosely coupled. Car class and engine class are tightly coupled. Okay, fine. I'm creating the object for engine class in the car class. Tomorrow, my service class wants to talk to user DAO like this. User DAO like this. Now, how many class objects I need to create in the service now? How many class objects I need to create in the service now? 3 class objects I need to create. For example, tomorrow I got another requirement. I want to verify the citizen is having a Aadhaar card or not. The citizen is having a Aadhaar card or not. Now, Aadhaar card verification I want to do. Aadhaar verifier. Aadhaar verify. Aadhaar verify. There is another class I am going to take. And I want to verify is that citizen, is that user who is registering, is having his PAN card number is valid or not. PAN verifier. PAN verify. Aadhaar verify. Now, my user service should talk to this class also. My user service should talk to this class also. Now tell me how many class objects I need to create in the user service. My business logic is getting increased. My business logic is getting increased. My user service, when a user want to register, we want to verify is that user having a valid PAN card number or not? Is that user having a valid Aadhaar card number or not? Is that user is having a valid passport number or not? I want to verify by communicating with some web services. Then Once his Aadhaar is valid, his passport is valid, his PAN card is valid, then I want to encrypt the password, then I want to store the record into database, then I want to send the email. So business logic is increasing or not? So total, how many classes it has to talk now? Total, how many classes? Here there is another class is available, passport to verify. There is another class available which is called passport to verify. Passport to verify is available. Now it should talk to passport to verify class also. Now tell me, for how many classes I have to create the object in the user service? For how many classes I need to create the object in the user service now? So total 6 classes, right? PAN card verification is one class. Passport verification is one class. Aadhaar verification is one class. User DAO one class. Password utils one class. Email utils one class. So total how many class objects we have to create here? Total how many classes objects we have to create here? 6 class objects creation we need to know. Now tell me, creating the 6 class objects in the service class is recommended or it is not recommended? Is it recommended or it is not recommended? If there is any change, if there is any change in any one of these 6 classes, if user DAO changed or if utils changed, if email utils, if this class or if this class, if this class, out of the 6, if any one class got changed, is it going to affect on my service class or not? Is it going to affect on my service class or not? My business logic will be affected. If there is any modification in the user DAO or password utils or email utils or Aadhaar verification or passport verification or PAN verification, then my user service is going to affect. Now tell me, can I go for inheritance approach to talk from one class to another class? Can I go for inheritance approach to implement this requirement in the project? Inheritance is impossible because at most we can extend the properties from only one class in the Java. Java does not support for multiple inheritance. Java does not support for multiple inheritance. When you go for inheritance, your classes will be tightly coupled. Your classes will be tightly coupled. Now, can I go for composition, create the objects and call the methods? Yes, I can do that. If I go for composition, I can create the objects for all these 6 classes in the service by using new operator and I can call the methods. But if I go for composition, then what is the problem? I need to know object creation process because some classes may have parameterized constructor. So what is the parameter they are expecting in the constructor? We have to pass that parameter. We need to know the instantiation process. Sir, what is the instantiation process? Class name is the class name. If you know the class name, then we can create the object by using new operator. Then what is the difficult? So you can create a object by using new operator if that class is having a 0 param constructor. If the class is having a parameterized constructor, for example, engine class is having a parameterized constructor here. Engine class is having a parameterized constructor here. It is expecting some type. Do you know what is that type? Do you know what is that type? You don't know. If you don't know this parameter, how can you create the object for the engine? That means you don't know object creation for the engine. Sir, I know new operator, new is a new class name. This is object creation. You know the syntax, but you don't know what value you have to supply. Instantiation process, we don't know. Even if you know the instantiation process, you can create the object, but there are 6 classes available. My service want to talk to 6 classes in future. For 6 classes, I have to create the object. My class is tightly coupled. If there is any change in the user DAO constructor, then my class cannot be compiled. If there is any change in the email utils, my class cannot be compiled. So now it is not recommended to develop the application like this. So don't go for inheritance and don't go for composition directly. If you go for inheritance or if you go for composition, here the classes will become tightly coupled. The classes will become tightly coupled. Are you guys able to understand the problem? Are you guys able to understand the problem with the composition and with the inheritance? Able to understand the problem with the composition and with inheritance? If you go with the composition, then you need to know instantiation process. That is difficult. Okay. If you go for inheritance, then classes are becoming tightly coupled because Java supports only single inheritance. It is not going to support multiple inheritance. It is not going to support multiple inheritance. Now, how my car class is talking to engine class in the first approach? In first approach, my car class is talking to engine class through inheritance. I'm sending you a screenshot. Inheritance. Engine class is available, car class is available. Car class is extending the properties from engine class to call the method. That is one approach, inheritance, but it is not recommended. Then we are going for composition approach here. We are going for composition approach. Composition nothing but creating the object and we are calling the methods. Creating the object and we are calling the method. If you go for this approach also, are we able to resolve tightly coupling problem or still tightly coupling problem is available? Are we able to resolve the tightly coupling problem or still the tightly coupling problem is available? Guys, can you tell me? Are we able to resolve the tightly coupling or we are not able to resolve the tightly coupling? We are not able to resolve the tightly coupling problem. Still the tightly coupling is available in our project. Now, by using inheritance, we are able to call one class methods and another class method. So now this is our requirement. This is my requirement. Okay. Can we implement this requirement with inheritance? We can't go for inheritance here. We cannot go for inheritance here. We cannot go for inheritance here because user service is talking to 6 classes. Java does not support multiple inheritance. Java does not support multiple inheritance. Java does not support multiple inheritance. Okay. Now, if I go for composition, we should know object creation for all 6 classes. We should know object creation for all the 6 classes. Classes in both approaches, classes will become tightly coupled. In both approaches, classes will become tightly coupled. Is it recommended to develop the application classes with the tightly coupling, or it is not recommended to develop the classes with the tightly coupling? Is it recommended to develop the application classes with the tightly coupling, or it is not recommended to develop the classes with the tightly coupling? Is it recommended or it is not recommended? It is not at all recommended to develop the classes with the tightly coupling. Always we need to make sure our classes are loosely coupled. Always we need to make sure our classes are loosely coupled. In order to develop the classes with loosely coupling, we need to go for Spring Core module. If you go for Spring Core module, you no need to extend the properties, you no need to create the objects, because in the Spring Core module, IOC container is available. It will take care of the dependencies among the classes. Sir, I want to talk from one class to another class. Do I need to go for inheritance? Do I need to go for composition? If you go for inheritance or if you go for composition, then your classes will become tightly coupled. Inheritance means one Java class can extend the properties from only one Java class. Java does not support for multiple inheritance. So if you go for inheritance, two problems are there. Only one class you can extend, and classes will become tightly coupled. If you go for composition, you need to know how to create the objects, and you need to know how to manage the dependencies. In the composition also, tightly coupling problem is available. So to overcome these problems, we are going to use a Spring Core module. When I have these many classes, in my project, I will tell to Spring Core module, hey Spring Core, these are my classes. Could you please manage the dependency? Could you please create the object, and could you please make sure the object is available? Now, if you go for IOC container, you no need to create the objects for passport, Aadhaar, email, password, user, DAO, PAN. Every object will be created by IOC container, and every object will be injected into user service class by IOC container. We can make sure our classes are loosely coupled when we use the Spring Core module. You can develop this project without using inheritance, without using composition, because IOC container is going to take care of dependency injection in our project. What is the dependency injection? Creating one class object and injecting into another class object is called as dependency injection. If you don't use the Spring Core module, either you need to go for inheritance to talk from one class to another class, or you need to go for composition to talk from one class to another class. If you go for inheritance or if you go for composition, your classes are becoming tightly coupled. How to develop these classes with loosely coupling? Loosely coupling means I will not use inheritance, I will not create the object, but still I want to access one class method in the another class. How can we achieve that? By using Spring Core module, we can achieve that. What is the main purpose of the Spring Core module? Spring Core is all about managing dependencies among the classes. Spring Core is all about managing dependencies among the classes. Now, if we use the Spring Core module, we can develop this application without inheritance and without composition, because you no need to create the object, you no need to extend the properties, but still you can access one class method in the another class. If you don't extend the properties, if you don't create the object, then definitely your classes will be loosely coupled. Then sir, without inheritance, without composition, how can we access the methods of one class in the another class? That is the power of the Spring Core. By using Spring Core module, we can develop this application with loosely coupling. Are you guys clear with my point? Are you guys clear with my point? What is the problem if you don't use the Spring Core, and what is the advantage if you use the Spring Core? If I don't use the Spring Core module, then what is the problem? If I don't use the Spring Core module, then what is the problem? Tightly coupled. Now, guys, can you tell me how many ways one Java class can talk to another Java class? How many ways one Java class can talk to another Java class? Two ways. What are the two ways? What are the two ways? What are the two ways? Inheritance and composition. So if I go for inheritance, what are the problems? If I go for inheritance, what are the problems? One Java class can extend from only another Java class. Only one class we can extend at a time. Java does not support for multiple inheritance. My service class wants to talk to 6 classes. Can I extend the properties from 6 classes in the user service? Can one Java class extend the properties from 6 other classes? Java does not support multiple inheritance. Okay, so for implementing this requirement, inheritance will not support. Can I go for composition? Can I go for composition? If I go for composition, I can do it, but What is the problem? If I go for composition, then what is the problem? Tightly coupling. I need to know the object creation. I need to know the instantiation process for all the 6 classes. That will become tightly coupling. Then without inheritance, without composition, how can we manage the dependency? Without inheritance, without inheritance, without composition, how can we access one class method in the another class? By using Spring Core. Now, what we need to do is you just develop the classes. You don't need to create the objects. You don't need to extend the properties. You tell to Spring Core, hey Spring Core, I have these classes. Then Spring Core is going to manage our classes. Spring Core is going to make sure our classes are ready to use. The dependency, the main problem is a dependency. One class is dependent on the another class. That the dependencies will be taken care by Spring Core module. That is the reason I told you Spring Core is all about managing dependencies among the classes, creating the objects and injecting the objects, creating objects and injecting objects. Creating objects and injecting objects will be taken care by Spring Core module. Are you guys able to understand why we are learning Spring Core module and what we are going to learn in the Spring Core module? Good. So today I want you people to download this toolsuit IDE. I have shared the toolsuit IDE in the Telegram. I want you to go through the Eclipse shortcuts because when I am developing the code, when I am writing the code, I will use some shortcuts. So you should not get surprised. Sir, you are not typing anything, but you are getting a return type. How you are getting that return type? You should not get that surprise. So if you go through the shortcut videos, you will understand. Then a simple example, engine class and car class using inheritance and composition. So engine class is same, car class, one car class. First time I developed car class with inheritance. Second time I developed car class with composition. Then this is my test class. You develop this inheritance application and composition application before coming to tomorrow. So when you are developing inheritance, when we are developing the classes with inheritance, or when you are developing the classes with composition, this diagram should come into your brain. Array, today car is talking to engine. Okay, only one class is available to talk to another class. You can go for inheritance or composition. Think about the tomorrow's project requirement in the future. In the company, you may get a requirement like this. You need to develop a user registration functionality to register that user into our website. That user should have a valid PAN number, valid Aadhaar number, valid passport number. Then his password should be encrypted. He should receive a email. Then his record should be inserted into database. So now I am going to develop 6 classes for that to verify that user, to perform the user registration. My service class wants to talk to all the 6 classes. Inheritance is impossible. Leave it. Okay, now go for composition. So user service can create the object for the 6 classes and can call the methods. We are creating 6 classes objects manually. Tomorrow, if there is some constructor changed in any one of that class, then user service will be affected. So user service will be tightly coupled with the 6 classes. So it is not at all recommended to create the objects directly for one class in the another class. If you directly create the object for one class in the another class, then your classes will become tightly coupled. Now I got stuck. I can't go for inheritance and composition is not recommended. I can't go for inheritance. Composition is not recommended. Tightly coupling. I want to develop my classes with loosely coupling. I don't want to create the object. I don't want to extend the properties, but still my class should talk to another class method. Then how to do that? How to manage the dependencies in the classes? That's where Spring Core module comes into picture. Spring Core module is the fundamental module in the Spring, base module of the Spring. That core module is providing fundamental concepts like IOC container and dependency injection. If you use the IOC container and dependency injection, you no need to extend the properties. You no need to create the object. core module is going to take care of everything for you. You just need to develop the classes and call the methods. Rest of the things will be taken care by Spring Core module. If you use the Spring Core module, then you can develop the classes with loosely coupling. Are you guys getting my point? What is the purpose of Spring Core? Did you realize now? Did you realize now? So now tell me, what is the purpose of Spring Core? Why we are going to learn the Spring Core? Why we are learning Spring Core? To manage objects, to manage classes, to achieve loosely coupling. Guys, all of you able to follow my classes? I think you guys are new. You might have done the courses in other institutes for core Java and advanced Java, and you came to AhokIT for Spring Boot. So this is, I think most of the people are doing the first course with me. Are you able to follow my voice, my explanation, my notes? Is everything comfortable? Sahi hai na? Yeah, mostly I will concentrate on practicals, guys, not theoretically. So I give less importance for theory. I will give more priority for the practical. More concentration will be on the practical. Right, the first example only I have shown you in the real time how the user registration will happen. How many classes we are going to access from one class to do the user registration. Then what is the problem if you extend the properties? What is the problem if you create the object? Then how to manage this problem, how to resolve this problem, that we are going to do. Okay, so tomorrow we are going to understand how to develop these classes with loosely coupling by using Spring Core module. So the main aim of the Spring Core is to make sure your classes are loosely coupled. So tomorrow I will tell you how to develop the classes with loosely coupling. Now today's paint diagrams I have given in the Telegram already. Inheritance example, composition example, then test class. This is a basic requirement for understanding why inheritance is not required, not recommended, and why composition is not recommended. If you look at this diagram, then you can understand why inheritance not recommended and why composition is not recommended. Got it? So tomorrow we will see how to develop these classes with loosely coupling by using Spring Core. In the 19 SBMS Telegram, I have sent the screenshots. In the 19 SBMS Telegram, I have sent the screenshots of this. Okay, guys, fine. Thank you. With this, I'm stopping for today. We will continue in the tomorrow session. So you know how to join the class tomorrow. Link is going to get changed. So log in into our website, go to dashboard, go to my courses here, guys. You need to go to my courses here, click on the Spring Boot. There will be a button to join the class. Telegram button will be available to join in the Telegram group. Zoom button will be available to join the Zoom class tomorrow at 7 AM. Okay. Now IDE I have given in the Telegram to download. Screenshots also I have shared in the Telegram for practice today. So please practice this example before coming to tomorrow session. Thank you.